Rich, it's so great to connect today. You've been speaking to my class for the last little bit, my business ethics class. The students always love it, so I'm excited to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's go back to the beginning of your career as a special agent in the IRS. How did you first decide to work for the IRS?
It's a good question. It's always something like law enforcement, federal law enforcement was always something that I don't know, kind of interested me since I was a little kid, and went to college and trying to figure out. I knew what I wanted to do. That I wanted to get into federal law enforcement. I just didn't know quite how I was going to do that. Ended up majoring in accounting, and while I was conducting research, trying to figure out what agency to apply to. Came across the IRS, and found out that they had criminal investigators that specialized in financial investigations, and applied, and they called me back, and here I am about 15 years later.
Yeah, that's interesting because most people don't think of the IRS if they want to be a special agent, but you're doing basically the same thing as many of the other branches, right?
Yeah, everybody's heard of the FBI or the Secret Service, but yeah, many people haven't heard of the IRS, or they, of course, they've heard of the IRS, but they just associate the IRS with April 15th and paying taxes. They don't
Right.
associate the IRS with having special agents and conducting criminal investigations.
So what do you most enjoy about your job?
The variety, no 2 days are the same. One day you might be at the federal courthouse working with a federal prosecutor, preparing for trial. The next day you might be conducting a search warrant. You might be out conducting interviews. Just a wide variety. And then days when you think, oh, I'm just going to be in the office analyzing records, you get a phone call and you've got to go deal with something. So the variety is, I really enjoy. No 2 days are the same.
Yeah, so okay, what's the hardest part then?
Trying to uh, stay on top of everything. Of course, dealing with the IRS, criminal investigation. We do financial investigations. So, of course, with fintech and cryptocurrency, just the internet and technology, and how all that is evolving really every day, you've got to stay on top of that. So, as an IRS special agent, we're trained to follow the money. Well, to follow the money in today's environment, we've got to be able to follow it on the blockchain, follow it across the internet, and then into traditional banking and finance. So you've got to know how to follow the money through all those outlets, and you've got to stay on top of it because every day things are changing, new technology is coming out, and not only just how money moves around the globe, just how we document our cases, how we conduct our investigations. That changes too because of just everything changing daily.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about the importance in your job of continuous learning, to always be trying to stay one step ahead of whoever is breaking the law that you're trying to catch.
Yeah, not only, of course, yeah, we'd like to stay one step ahead of the bad guys, but just trying to even sometimes keep pace, and
Yeah.
can be difficult. Or you've worked with one financial company one day, and then you don't deal with them for 6 months, a year, and you go back to them, and they've changed how they keep their records, or just things change. So that's kind of the one constant is everything is always changing.
Well, one thing I've been intrigued by with you is your approach to the job. So many people, most of us probably, when we think of the IRS, we don't have a necessarily positive connotation, right? Because like generally speaking, we want to pay less taxes than more, and so it's not always fun for us to be writing the check to the IRS. But you've talked to my students about one of the main reasons you do this job, and one of the just why you provide so much, or why you get so much value by working for the IRS.
Yeah, I mean, the IRS, yeah, it touches probably all aspects of life as an American citizen, from the tax dollars that are collected. And I don't know the exact stats, but it's extremely high percentage of revenue that comes into the IRS that funds the federal government, from the military to building roads and bridges, everything. So the IRS, our ability to collect taxes and fund, federal government and all the other initiatives that are involved is very important.
Yeah, it's like we all want a strong military, we all want great roads, and we always want every single pothole fixed. And then sometimes though, you have to write that check at the end of the year or the end of tax season, and it's it can be a little challenging mentally. Another thing that I really appreciate about you, especially as you talk to my ethics class, is y- you're trying to keep a level playing field for everybody out there.
For sure, and if you're a business owner, and you might not think it's that big of a deal that you're evading some of your taxes, not paying what you're legally required to pay. Um, if you're paying less of a percentage than what your competitor is, I mean, you have a competitive advantage, and so now you're able to potentially offer lower prices. Maybe you're going to get more business because you're cheating on your taxes as opposed to your competitor who is doing everything they should. So yeah, trying to keep that level playing for field is real important for taxpayers and business owners.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me because I'm really interested in this idea of motivated reasoning. And when we want something, it's so easy for our brains to come to conclusions that we want rather than conclusions that are ethical. And so, for example, it can be so easy for our brains to say, like, oh, I want to get paid in cash because if I get paid in cash, then the government doesn't know about it. And then I don't have to pay, I get to pay less taxes. And there's a part of us, many of us, maybe all of us, there's a part of us like, yeah, of course, I'll just get paid in cash and then I don't have to pay taxes on that. But of course, the ethical side of us says, well, no, that's not ethical and fair. And what I like about you and when you talk to the students, it's like, look, every time you cheat on your taxes, yeah, sure, you're cheating the government, but you're cheating everybody else that you're competing against. You're cheating all of society, and you're cheating your competitors who are paying their fair share.
Yeah, that's definitely right. So yeah, trying to keep everyone paying what they're legally required to pay is really important to keeping our government and our society functioning.
So you are a University of Kansas grad, and you end up getting a job as a special agent with the IRS, and you had a really interesting case related to KU pretty soon after you graduated.
I did.
So go
Um,
ahead and share that case with us.
Yeah, so I'd only been on, it's been a while now, but maybe a couple of years, maybe not quite that long, and um, yeah, received information that there may be some uh, um, suspicious activity at the KU athletics ticket department, and so I ended up investigating a case related to that with another IRS special agent and an FBI agent.
So yeah, what happened with that case, and uh how did you get involved? What was the process like, and then how did that case get resolved?
Yeah, so I mean, similar to how we would, start any case, we have a variety of sources we receive our investigations from. Yeah, received information on this case, and started to follow that lead to see if the information we received was was good intel. Because we ended up prosecuting this case, the information we received was good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so yeah, just kind of started. We said kind of pulling on that thread and just kind of trying to see where that leads, and we ended up. I think we're 7 people were charged federally. 5 ended up going to federal prison, serving pretty lengthy prison sentences. Many people lost their jobs at KU athletics and the ticket office, and not only those directly associated with the case, but there's collateral damage too, due to the actions conducted by the individuals in that case.
Yeah, I think it's just so interesting. You get your degree from KU, and the next thing you know, you're in meetings with many of the administrators of KU. I mean, some of the most powerful people because this involved, people in the athletic department and the athletic department at KU, we're talking big business, big money, and now you're suddenly in the meetings with these people who before weren't necessarily your supervisors, but were certainly leaders at the school, and now you're investigating them.
Yeah, that was kind of surreal to be a student at KU one minute, and then just a short while later to be there conducting an investigation involving KU. And I think a lot of people maybe falsely assumed at the time that must be some grads from some other university that are heading this, and little did they know, yeah, it was me, and who's obviously a big KU fan going to KU, and the other special agent was also a big KU fan. Um, so yeah, just kind of um, yeah, interesting how you had KU people investigating
Yeah.
KU. I'm sure some people may have thought that you know I don't know. I guess I don't know what they would have thought if they would have known as a KU person. But I worked the case as good as I could. Because really being a big KU fan, it made me mad that they were able to take from the university
Yeah. Yeah. They were stealing from the university and using it for for their own benefit. So it gets
for
back
sure.
to this idea of just trying to level the playing field. Like who wants it's interesting too, because it's like as a KU alum, you're investigating this case against KU employees. And so there's a part of us that is like, wait, that's not loyal. But all you have to do is think about it the other way. And it's like, no, who's not being loyal? The one stealing from KU. Of course, we want you to be protecting KU.
Yeah, I mean, and it. Yeah, no. Professor Frederickson wrote a book about it, and he talked about in there about one of the trash pull we did, and being a KU alum made me when we conducted that trash pull, we knew what it some of the tickets we found in there was, I think, someone that didn't go to KU and didn't know maybe what KU tickets looked like, maybe wouldn't have known that. So in that instance, it kind of helped out that you've got someone that has some institutional knowledge of what's going on, as opposed to someone from the outside who
Yeah.
just may have not picked up on that. So
And when you say a trash pull, what do you mean by a trash pull?
yeah, so we'll actually go in and collect trash that's been set out at the curb for collection. So there's certain requirements when we can and can't do that, but yeah, if trash is out there for collection from the garbage collection service, generally we can go in and uh, pull that trash and go through it and see if there's any evidence in there.
Yeah, really interesting. Well, I just all the methods that you use to uh, investigate cases are always intriguing to me. And maybe as we wrap up here, Rich, what lesson or two have you learned from your career as a special agent that you would most want to pass on to others?
Well, I think the first thing, just kind of directly dealing with financial crime and fraud, and it seems like right now, kind of post-pandemic, a lot of the fraud is very rampant, especially money mule or romance scams, just people being victimized. So the biggest thing is that people have to look out for themselves. So and not only themselves, but their friends, their neighbors, their family. So you may have grandma or grandpa who lives by themselves, or a friend that may not have a lot of other people, but just to look out for those people, make sure that they're not being victimized by someone, because it's very easy these days with the internet and all the technology to victimize people, and you get someone that's just kind of in the right frame of mind, and even someone that thinks they could never be victimized, and all of a sudden they get contacted on the right day, and all of a sudden they become a victim and start losing money to some from some scammer. So uh, that's, I guess, the truth for like I said, yourself, but also your business.
Yeah.
You've got to watch out for your business, and um, banks and financial institutions, yes, they're trying to watch and make sure that their customers aren't scammed, but at the end of the day, you've got to uh, look out for yourself and your loved ones.
So great lesson. We need to be careful and watch out. And you used a term there, a money mule. So what's a money mule, and what sort of fraud or how might somebody take advantage of you in terms of a money mule?
Yeah, so if you have, so a money mule is someone that moves, moves illicit proceeds through the banking system. So it's especially prevalent in cases where you have a criminal who is overseas. Um, they illegally obtain some money. Well, to get it moved overseas, you probably have to have someone in the United States, an account holder, to help them move that. Um, so you get this money mule. They conduct the transaction for you, and the money mule sends the money to the criminal. Sometimes these money mules are part of the criminal group, and they know
Yeah.
exactly what they're doing. And other times it's what we call an unwitting money mule, where they're not, they don't have the criminal culpability. They're not part of it, but they clearly are conducting the transactions. A lot of times we see that with a romance scam where you have someone that thinks they've fallen in love with someone online, thinks that person maybe is getting ready to travel to the United States, and they'll conduct financial transactions for that person to move these illicit funds to the banking system.
Yeah, it's just I can imagine for many of us, it's just so easy to think, I'm not harming anybody, right? I'm just gonna go cash this check, or I'm gonna go make this deposit, I'm gonna make this transfer. And because I'm not violently attacking somebody, it can be so easy for people to commit these crimes that hurt everybody.
Yeah, so sometimes, yeah, either you think you're not hurting anyone, or it's just the federal government. But a lot of times, it's retirees and grandmas and grandpas that are losing their
Yeah.
money. It's not the federal government, or it's not the state unemployment. It's literally you have a victim that they are the ones losing their money. And so it's not just, yeah, just the federal government, and who cares if they lose $10,000, but it's you know real dollars that someone has earned from their retirement, or however else they you know earn their income.
Well, I appreciate you, Rich, and the work you do, not only to help us have, strong military and good roads, but also to keep the playing field level. Because, like you're saying, anytime anybody cheats the system, it might feel like it's a victimless crime, but in reality, it is hurting everybody. It's hurting the entire system. And I admire you and respect the work you do. And so just want to thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.